Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday, the 7th of September 2025. Off to Geneva. Foreign Minister departs for Geneva with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights set to present its report on Sri Lanka to the Human Rights Council tomorrow. Former chairman of the Human Rights Commission urges action to defeat resolutions against Sri Lanka, warning of the possibility of sanctions. The second haul. Another stock of chemicals linked to illegal drug production uncovered in Tangol. Detention orders extended against former SLPP local councillor arrested in connection with the Middenia chemical haul. The boundary dilemma. Residents raise concern over the possibility of property being unjustly demolished following the government's Lake Reserve survey. Deputy Minister of Lands and Irrigation assures no hurry to demolish property. Travel safe. Deputy Transport Minister vows strict action against vehicles operating with hazardous modifications as the victims of the fatal Allawallawaya bus accident are laid to rest.
Kalin baby soap රුපියල් 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, your top story tonight. Today marks the Binara Full Moon Poya Day, a significant date in the Buddhist history that commemorates several key events in the monastic tradition, most notably the establishment of the Order of Buddhist Nuns. In observance of this sacred day, devout Buddhists across the country visited temples and monasteries, engaging in various religious rituals and spiritual practices. As part of the day's commemorations, TV Derana hosted the Derana Vandana Binara Poya live broadcast centered at the historic Ambulugala Dantapaya Rajamahawihara, providing viewers with a day-long stream of devotional and Dhamma-centered programming.
Binara Full Moon Poya, which falls during the monsoons in September, holds profound religious and literary importance in the Buddhist calendar. One of the most significant events commemorated on this Poya Day is the establishment of the female Buddhist monastic order known as the Bhikkhuni order. Binara Poya also marks the initiation of the sacred Girihandu Sayas construction by the merchant brothers Tapassu and Balluka, who enshrined the hair relic of the Buddha within it. Today, Buddhists across the country meditate, listen to sermons, and offer alms in relevant remembrance of these significant events that shape the course of the Dhamma. Meanwhile, TV Derana's Derana Vandana Binara Poya live broadcast was aired throughout the day at the historic Ambulugala Dantapaya Rajamahawihara. The Derana Vandana live program commenced this morning with the veneration of the Buddha, followed by the observance of Uposatha Sila by the devotees. A range of spiritual programs took place throughout the day, including Dhamma discussions, Sambuddha Puja, and Dhamma sermons, which were all broadcast live on TV Derana. A significant moment during the event was the enshrinement of a gold-plated Buddha statue, which was brought from Thailand and ceremonially placed on the temple grounds of the Ambulugala Dantapaya Rajamahawihara. In the afternoon, a Dhamma sermon was delivered by the esteemed Venerable Professor Mathagoda Abeyatissatero, enriching the spiritual experience of the devotees. Moreover, FM Derana's Asapua Binara Poya live broadcast took place throughout the day today, centered around the historic Sri Valukaramaya temple in Ipalogama, Aludden. The program featured a series of religious observances, including Dhamma sermons and spiritual discussions, offering a day of reflection and devotion for the listeners and attendees. In parallel, the Pain Rudasu Satkara humanitarian campaign was also launched at the temple premises, adding a compassionate and community-focused dimension to the day's proceedings.
රුපියල් 8,900ක මාසික වාර්ගයකට brand new TVS XL 100 යතුරු පැදියක් ගන්න.
Now, Sri Lankans will have a rare chance to witness a total lunar eclipse known as a blood moon tonight as the moon turns a deep red for 82 minutes. Professor Chandana Jayaratne, head of physics at the University of Colombo, says the entire eclipse will be visible across Sri Lanka with weather permitting. The phenomenon occurs when the earth moves between the sun and a full moon, casting a shadow that gives the moon its reddish hue. The full eclipse will last 1 hour and 22 minutes, with the entire event spanning 5 hours and 27 minutes. It's safe to watch with the naked eye, binoculars or a telescope. This is the last total lunar eclipse of the year and will be visible to 85% of the global population, especially across Asia, Africa, Europe and Australia. Sky watchers are advised to find a clear view of the eastern sky for the best experience. Now, President Anura Dissanayake paid a visit yesterday to the revered and historic Mahiyanganaya, where he participated in solemn religious observances. Chief incumbent of the Mahiyanganaya Rajamaha Vihare, Venerable Uruvalathanne Sri Dhammarakkhita Nayaka Thera, honoured the President with a special commemorative souvenir. Subsequently, the President ceremoniously placed the sacred casket upon the ceremonial elephant, officially inaugurating the 4th Randoli Perahera of the 2025 Asala Maha Perahera at the historic Mahiyanganaya Rajamaha Vihara and the Sri Sumana Saman Mahadevalaya. He then greeted the performers, bringing life to the procession, and joined the crowds in witnessing the vibrant procession. Key ministers and indigenous leader Uruvarage Wanilatho were also present in attendance to mark this auspicious occasion.
හොඳම ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්න. ළඟම අපාන්ස් එකට යන්න.
And the Walasmulla Magistrates Court today issued a 7-day detention order to interrogate former Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Pradesha Sabha member Piyal Manamperi over the recovery of a haul of chemicals in a plot of land in Mid-Denia recently. Meanwhile, in a separate development, a significant quantity of chemicals believed to be precursors in the production of methamphetamine was discovered this morning on a plot of land in Tangol. Preliminary reports indicate that the substances closely resemble the chemical haul previously uncovered in Mid-Denia.
Acting on a tip-off received by the residents of the Netolpitia area in Tangol today, officers of the Tangol police station launched a special search operation in the area. The operation led to the recovery of a large quantity of suspicious substances on a plot of land. Authorities believe the material closely resembles chemical substances used in the production of crystal methamphetamine, similar to the chemical stock unearthed during a separate investigation in Mid-Denia recently. According to a senior officer of the Tangol police, the seized substance has an appearance similar to limestone. However, its precise composition and intended use will be determined following laboratory testing. Accordingly, the substance weighing 5,000 kilograms has been transported to the Tangol police for further forensic examination. Meanwhile, investigations continue into the chemical hole discovered earlier in the Talawa area in Mid-Denia. The inquiry stems from intelligence gathered during the interrogation of notorious criminal gang member Bako Saman, who was apprehended in Indonesia and subsequently extradited to Sri Lanka. In a related development, former Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Pradeshiya Sabha member Piyal Manamperi was arrested yesterday on suspicion of being linked to the stock of chemicals unearthed in Mid-Denia. During police questioning, Manamperi claimed the materials were used for construction purposes. However, after being produced before the Walasmulla Magistrates Court earlier today, permission was granted to detain Manamperi for 7 days for further interrogation. As the investigations deepened, officers discovered a hidden cache of weapons during a secondary search of the same plot of land in Mid-Denia. Concealed in a drainage pit, police officers recovered 5 foreign-manufactured hand grenades, 17 rounds of T-56 rifle ammunition, and 3 12-bore shotgun cartridges. This discovery was confirmed by the Special Task Force and officers of the Western North Crime Division, who continued their search operations for a second consecutive day. Meanwhile, preliminary analysis by the National Dangerous Drugs Control Board suggests that the chemicals discovered in Mid-Denia are indeed precursors used in the manufacture of crystal methamphetamine. However, However, the government analysts department is yet to confirm its findings. The Police Narcotics Bureau has since conducted a detailed inspection, after which the seized chemical stock was formally handed over to the Midaniya police for continued investigation.
Now in other news, Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath has departed for Geneva, Switzerland to attend the 60th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, which commences tomorrow. The report of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, titled Situation of Human Rights in Sri Lanka, is expected to be presented to the Council on the inaugural day of the session. Against this backdrop, former chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Professor Pratibha Mahanamaheva, urges the government to convince the Council of the commitment to uphold human rights in the country, warning of the possibility of sanctions if the resolution against Sri Lanka is presented to the Security Council.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism Vijitha Herath departed for Geneva, Switzerland this morning to attend the 60th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, scheduled to commence tomorrow and continue until October 8th. The Foreign Minister is expected to deliver a special statement on behalf of the Sri Lankan government during the session. During his visit, Minister Herath is also scheduled to hold bilateral discussions with several high-ranking diplomats in Geneva, including UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk. Turk, who visited Sri Lanka in June, is scheduled to present his report titled Situation of Human Rights in Sri Lanka on the inaugural day of the upcoming session. The permanent mission of Sri Lanka to the United Nations office officially responded to the report, reiterating that the government rejects Resolution 57/1, which forms the basis for the preparation of the report and extends the mandate of the Sri Lanka Accountability Project. Against this backdrop, former chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Professor Pratibha Mahanamaheva, convening a media briefing, commented on the strategy Sri Lanka should adopt at the UNHRC session.
Even at the 60th Council session, a resolution will be brought against us. Resolution 61. We must put an end to a series of resolutions. Otherwise, all of these resolutions against us will be forwarded from Geneva to the UN headquarters in New York, and there they will be presented to the Security Council. If so, we will have to face various sanctions unless someone uses their veto powers on our behalf. A month ago, the Foreign Ministry received a draft of the resolution to be presented against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was asked to co-sponsor that draft. Sri Lanka vehemently rejected it, which was commendable. 5 countries, including Canada, Malawi and Montenegro, are prepared to present this resolution against Sri Lanka. There are 47 member states of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. Of those 47 nations, we must win over at least 24. Given the current context, it is possible to win over those 24 members. Despite the draft being presented, we can ask time. However, we will not be given time unless we have a plan. There are plenty of facts that support our case. The High Commissioner for Human Rights will present a report on Sri Lanka on the first day itself. We can respond to that and win over other countries. A plan for human rights has to be formulated. We must demonstrate that Sri Lanka is working hard to protect human rights. The government has pledged to draft a new constitution. Even if a new constitution isn't introduced, the fundamental rights mentioned in Chapter 3 of the 1978 Constitution must be broadened to introduce the right to life and right to privacy. Additionally, the right to oppose bribery should also be made a fundamental right. What should be done at the moment is publicizing the work we have done so far and the work we intend to do in the future.
Leader of Sarvajana Balaya, MP Dilith Jayavira, says promoting destinations such as New Delhi is crucial for the development of Sri Lanka's tourism industry, cautioning against the over-reliance on the coastline. He made this comment during an event in New Delhi.
The Sarvajana Sabha of the Ragala division of Nuwara Eliya was established this morning under the patronage of Sarvajana Balaya leader MP Dilith Jayavira.
Vijitha
Herath, who is Sri Lanka's foreign minister, is also the Minister of Tourism. I asked him a written question in Parliament, which he is yet to answer. The question was how many times he has visited the Tourism Promotion Bureau and how many times he has met with officials of the Ministry of Tourism. The truth is, he doesn't have the time to meet them. In order to develop the tourism industry, we have to attract a large number of tourists with high spending power. Only when that happens can hotels must begin to include a profit margin in their charges. A creative strategy is needed to develop both Nuwara and the country's tourism industry. Nuwara should become a brand in its own right with an accompanying tagline such as Little England. The reality is that it is insufficient to only promote our coastline as a destination.
Meanwhile, MP Jayavira also presided over the establishment of the Sarvajana Sabha in the Senaratpura division of Nuwara.
Residents and local business owners in Anuradhapura have raised concern over the considerable difficulties caused by the government's recent decision to mark boundaries on the Nuwara Lake Reserve. However, the Director of Irrigation at the Anuradhapura District Agriculture Committee affirmed that the boundary demarcation will continue as scheduled and that the process will only be suspended if a court order mandates it.
Recently, the government sanctioned official surveys to mark boundaries of 23 lake reserves in a bid to address safety and ecological concerns. The government also vowed legal action against any encroachments into officially designated lake reserves. The first of the lake reserves to be surveyed as such was the lake reserve of Anuradhapura's Nuwara. However, residents and businessmen with property already built upon the Nuwara's lake reserve raised concerns over the possibility of their property being destroyed. At a press conference today, residents with property on the lake reserve complained that it is unjust to demolish property built lawfully.
This map, sketched in the 1960s, marks the lake's boundary at 84.7 meters. All deeds to the property we have were given based on these levels and boundaries. What the authorities are attempting to do now is to mark the boundary of the lake at 88.5 meters. This decision will definitely inconvenience many. The authorities also require granite to be laid at the 90-meter mark. If these decisions are implemented, more than half of the residents here will lose their homes and property.
Meanwhile, those involved in the tourism industry centered around Anuradhapura's Nuwara claim that the lake reserve survey could adversely impact livelihoods relying on tourism.
According to the survey, granite will have to be laid right in the middle of certain hotels. Some hotel owners have subscribed for loan facilities. The government has introduced loan packages for small to medium scale enterprises. Many have made business plans and presented them to banks in a bid to secure a loan package introduced as such. The problem now is that the government valuation department refuses to value our property. They refuse to do that since a pile of granite has been laid across our property. Banks are reluctant to pass loans to businesses without a proper valuation. We will not be able to engage in this industry if we don't have access to capital.
Notwithstanding the grievances aired by residents and businessmen, Director of the Department of Irrigation claimed that the government's decision will be strictly implemented.
We have so far marked the boundaries of the Nuwara. We will lay granite despite any concerns anyone may have. The only way to stop us is if someone secures a court order prohibiting us from laying the granite. Recently, we demolished certain constructions made on the Malwatoya's reservation. Certain complaints were made over the demolition. We are not bothered by those complaints. If any new constructions are being made, we will take steps to demolish such constructions immediately. The problem lies with buildings erected a long time ago. To demolish those properties, we will have to first file lawsuits against the owners. If we secure an order in our favor, we will be able to then demolish those properties too.
However, Deputy Minister of Land and Irrigation, Dr. Susil Ranasinghe, claims that the government has only sanctioned a survey to mark boundaries of lake reserves.
We
clearly instructed the Department of Irrigation to only conduct a survey to mark boundaries of the lake reserves. A stone with the official emblem of the Irrigation Department will be laid to mark the boundary. This is all what the Irrigation Department was instructed to do so far. We are not too hasty to destroy property. For demolitions, we have set up a committee led by the District Secretary. The committee will consult the residents with property on the reserve and will also consider lawfulness of the constructions before making a decision on whom to eject and what to destroy.
Now, Chairman of the Civil Aviation Authority, Sunil Jayaratna, reveals plans to develop the Batticaloa International Airport in a bid to bolster the tourism industry in the Eastern Province. The CAA chairman highlights the Eastern Province's potential to become a premier destination for adventure sports.
Chairman of the Civil Aviation Authority, Sunil Jayaratna, engaged in a tour of inspection yesterday at the Batticaloa International Airport.
මඩකලුප ප්‍රදේශය මනරම් මුදු තීරයක් තියෙනවා.
Batikalo possesses an attractive coastline. Areas such as Pasikuda are tourist hotspots. Cessna 208s arrive at this airport. Moreover, it has the capacity to accommodate ATR 72s. Our intention is to develop the facilities here and promote the tourism industry. This area is especially important when it comes to tourism. This province has potential within the scope of adventure sports. We had a discussion on inviting interested Sri Lankan investors to develop activities such as ballooning and parasailing. We will make the relevant announcements in the future in collaboration with the Tourism Development Authority.
Welcome back. Now in a bid to address safety concerns in Sri Lanka's tourism industry, Deputy Minister of Transport and Highways Dr. Prasanna Gunasena announces that stringent enforcement will be carried out against vehicles operating with hazardous modifications. The Deputy Minister states that attention will be given to drivers using excessively loud sound systems as well as vehicles equipped with blinding lights and other unsafe alterations. Meanwhile, the final rites for the victims of the recent fatal bus accident on the Allavallavaya road were performed this afternoon.
On the night of September 4th, a devastating accident occurred near the 24th milepost along the Allavallavaya road when a bus collided with the rear of an SUV heading in the opposite direction. The impact caused the bus to crash through the road's protective metal railing and plunge approximately 1,000 feet into the precipice below. The ill-fated bus was carrying 32 passengers, including employees of the Tangol Municipal Council and their family members who were on a leisure outing. The accident claimed the lives of 15 individuals, while 17 others sustained injuries of varying severity. 13 of the injured, including 2 Army Special Forces officers who were among the first to respond to the scene, are currently receiving treatment at the Badulla Teaching Hospital. Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa arrived in Tangol this afternoon to pay his final respects to the victims of the tragic bus accident. Meanwhile, the final rites of some of the victims took place this afternoon. In response to the tragedy, Deputy Minister of Transport and Highways Dr. Prasanna Gunasena announced strict enforcement of traffic laws will commence immediately. In a post on his Facebook page, the minister emphasized that priority will be given to monitoring vehicles operating in with dangerous and unauthorized modifications such as excessively loud sound systems, multicolored flashing lights which are installed in violation of transport regulations. The Bus Owners Association assured support for the move.
The blinding lights installed on certain vehicles massively affect the eyesight of other drivers. Thereby, this must be stopped immediately, and we will definitely extend our support for this move by the government. We request the owners and drivers of private buses to get rid of additional modifications installed on buses.
Now, Sri Lanka will host exercise Pacific Angel 2025 from the 8th to the 12th of this month. Key participants include the United States Pacific Forces, the Royal Australian Air Force, the Japan Air Self-Defense Force, the Indian Air Force, the Maldivian National Defense Force, and the Bangladeshi Air Force. A total of 300 personnel are expected to take part in the exercise, with 123 representing foreign contingents. The operation will feature a diverse fleet of air and naval assets. The United States Air Force will deploy 2 C-130J aircraft, while the Sri Lanka Air Force will contribute a Bell 412, a B-212 helicopter and a King 350. To complement these assets, the Sri Lanka Navy is also expected to provide selected naval platforms. Now, in your business news, Sri Lanka received $680.8 million in workers' remittances in August 2025. According to the total remittances from January to August 2025, reached $5.116 billion, up 19.3% from the corresponding period last year. Meanwhile, official figures show that earnings from tourism surpassed $2 billion during the first 8 months of this year. This marks an increase of 7.8% compared to the tourism earnings of $1.88 billion recorded in the first 8 months of 2024. That's all for tonight from First at 9. For the latest developments around the clock, stay in touch with Ada Derana, the Sri Lankan news brand of international excellence. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.